Hey guys, Mike from Boca Film Studios here, today to talk to you about how to easily pass the FAA's Part 107 to become a commercial drone pilot. One of the easiest things you can do to really take your filmmaking to the next level is to go ahead and become a commercial drone pilot. I can't tell you the number of times that couples that look at our wedding films specifically talk about story and about the drone shots, especially when you're by something that is really scenic like a mountain or a lake. It just takes your filmmaking to the next level. Now, if you're anything like me, you actually are a little bit annoyed by some of the regulations that come with this. And while you have every right to be annoyed by what the FAA makes you do in order to become a drone pilot, it is what it is. So today, I am not talking about the annoyances of the FAA. What I want to do is just equip you with the material that you need in order to pass the Part 107. Now, if you're flying just for fun and you're not being paid to do it, or you're not doing it for something that you would otherwise benefit from monetarily, then you don't need the Part 107. You need the Part 107 if you're doing anything that makes you money. If you're doing it for surveillance for your own company, you need the Part 107. If you're doing it obviously for a wedding film where you're being paid, even if it's not an add-on, it's just part of your package, it doesn't matter. If you are using footage that's going to otherwise help in you being compensated for your work, you need the Part 107. Now, before we get too far into this, I want to let you know that I'm going to have links in the descriptions for every single video and program that I'm going to recommend for you. Now, there are two routes that you can take. The first route, and this is the route that I took, is to self-study. There is a whole bunch of free material online. Actually, there's way too much free material online, and it's a little bit overwhelming. But I'm gonna walk you through the steps that I took in order to pass the test, really honestly without purchasing any other materials. Or you can take the second way. If you're like me and you really learn from a lot of visuals and a lot of hands-on techniques, and also you want to be able to do it at your own pace, Drone Pilot Ground School is a great online course for you to take. It's $299. That's a lot of money, especially since the FAA Part 107 is only $150 to take. But if you are someone that doesn't want to spend a lot of time searching YouTube for answers, I would recommend this course. Now, of course, I didn't go that route because I'm kind of a cheapskate, but also because there's just so much material online that I felt I could self-study and be successful in taking this test. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I want to tell you that this test is $150. It is 60 questions, and it is split up into a number of categories. For me personally, I actually found out that about 25 of the 60 questions were all on this thing called Sectional Charts. This thing is the craziest looking thing ever. If you are just starting to fly drones for your own purposes or for commercial weddings or anything like that, you'll know that there's nothing on this test that has anything to do with actually getting good shots and being a good wedding filmmaker. None of it. It's all safety, it's airspace, it's weather, it's payloads, yes, there's a bunch of really good things that you need to know, but to be honest, a lot of this stuff you are not going to use at all while flying a drone. The FAA just really wants to make sure that you're flying safely because, to be completely honest, you are sharing this airspace with actual commercial airplanes. You don't want to get in a situation where there is an emergency simply because you were not being proper in flying your drone. And for all of us that really want to fly drones but hate all this regulation, the worst thing that could possibly happen is that you screw it up for the rest of us when we're trying to fly these drones. Now, I want to preface this by saying I got an 82. It's not a 100, but I did get an 82 and passed. Do you honestly care if you got a 72 or a 92, so long as you just pass? I think that that's probably the thing that's most important. One bit of advice that I really want to give you is that you need to kind of take your time with this. I actually studied for this over the course of about a month, but in all sincerity, I studied hardcore for chunks of time, for like 2 days in a row, and then I took a week off. And then I studied for 3 days in a row, and then I took a week off. The truth is, you have to go at your own pace. I am not traditionally a good test taker. Never was in high school, really wasn't in college, but this was important to me to pass because I do want drone footage to be part of my wedding filmmaking, but I also really want to comply with the rules and regulations because I don't want to get in trouble. I actually think it's a really useful tool as well to kind of say, hey, I have my certification and not many other people in this area do. The other thing is that passing this test has really opened up my book of business. I've been able to do real estate shoots and commercial shoots with aerial footage, and I really think that that's an industry that's growing exponentially. I think it's something that could really help you out just in building your book of business. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to take you through step by step the process that I went through that I think was the key reason that I was able to pass this without paying for some expensive online course. So there is this YouTube channel by Tony and Chelsea Northrup. They've got a tremendous YouTube platform on a whole series of topics, but they have this one video on studying for and passing the Part 107. I'm going to warn you that it is 1 hour and 45 minutes long. It's really long. I actually watched it 4 times. This is really, in my opinion, one of the best YouTube videos for passing the Part 107. For me, it was the most helpful because the guy is not only really knowledgeable, he's funny. And he sort of takes some shots at the things that we need to know. Simply, I mean, we all get that this test is a little bit ridiculous, but he keeps it in perspective. He keeps it lively. It is something that I tended to fall asleep to here and there because it's 1 hour and 45 minutes. But the information is really vital, and it's great for people just starting to figure out, how are they going to study and pass this test. So I would recommend watching that video more than once, and especially if there's parts that seem a little bit confusing to you, he's got little annotations in the description so you can go right back to that spot and really listen to what he's saying in particular in certain sections. Now, because this one section was actually 25 out of 60 of my questions on my test, I recommend also looking for videos that are specific to sectional charts and airspace. So Remote Pilot 101 has a really good YouTube website for all things drones, but specifically it's got a really good 10-minute video just on airspace. I highly recommend this being the second video that you watch. I think that Tony does a great job really talking about all aspects of this test, but I needed more on sectional charts because I'm telling you, once you see what a sectional chart looks like and the test question asks you, hey, go find this thing, or what does this mean in this class of airspace, you're gonna go, oh my gosh, I seriously need alcohol right now, because it's crazy. By the way, alcohol is actually part of the test, so you get to study a little bit on that too. Don't drink or do drugs while you're flying your drone. Okay, so once you have watched Tony's super long video and then also seen Remote Pilot 101's video really honing in on those sectional charts, it's time for you to just try to figure out where you are. Are you going to come close to passing the test if you were to take it now? And that's why my next thing that I highly recommend is take as many practice tests or look for as many practice questions as possible. Especially look for ones that are going to give you detailed explanations on what the answer is and why that's the answer over anything else. You do this a couple times, these things are going to start being ingrained in your mind, and you're really going to start to understand some of the things that this test is really, really going to ask you, what the FAA is really looking for in you being successful passing this test. So where I suggest you start is in this video by a company called 3DR. This example test is incredible. It's a lot of questions, and so you can actually take certain chunks. I think it does like the first 10 questions or the first 20 questions all in one set. And you go through, you answer to the best of your abilities, and then they go through and they give you explanations on what the answer is and why. Even if you get all of them wrong on the first shot, It's a really, really good learning tool to read real sample questions and be able to understand why you got it right or why you got it wrong. They do a great job. That is the first practice test that you should take. Okay, after that, I'm gonna ask you to do something really scary, and that is to take the FAA's practice test. This test is set up like the real deal. You're gonna sit there, you're gonna answer every single one. Don't look up the answers, not yet. Take it from start to finish, and then take a look at the answers and grade it yourself. How'd you do? For me, I actually did pretty well. I think I got like a 72 my first time. And to me, I went, man, for studying this only for 2 weeks, I feel like that's pretty darn good. So I also think it's just a really good gauge for you to kind of see where you are in your studies. If you do a pretty good job on that test, I would still say your job's not done, but I would say hopefully that's a little bit encouraging to you that you can do it. I mean, even if you get a 50, you just passed half of the test when 2 weeks ago you didn't know what you were doing. I think that that's tremendous and something that really hopefully is an encouragement to you. Okay, so now that you've taken the FAA's official practice exam, you've graded it, you've scored it, and now you know where you stand, I'm going to recommend you take a look at, I think it's called Rupprecht's Law's self-study exam, something like that, whatever. It's part 5 in my link description. You can check it out. But what this is it's a very detailed explanation of every question that you just took on the FAA's official practice exam. This is really helpful because, yeah, you got a score on the practice exam, you kind of know where you stand, but there's some questions you might look at and go, I have no idea why that was wrong, or I guessed on this one, I don't know why it's right. This one tutorial is really going to kind of let you scroll to the questions you got wrong and look at it in detail. They give you great explanations. I'm going to recommend that you even look at the questions that you got right. That's just going to help continue to build that confidence in you as to why those questions are, why you got them right in the first place. There's only one FAA practice test. You take that a couple times, you start to memorize the answers as opposed to understanding how to answer the question. That's why I'm recommending all these different free online practice tests. And then the very last thing that I'm going to recommend that you take a look at is an app. It's something that you can keep in your pocket. You can answer questions by section, and you can take practice tests as well. It's filled with hundreds of questions and something that I used in order to prepare. It's called Prepware Remote Pilot. It is an app in the App Store, and it does cost you $4.99, but for me personally, it was well worth that investment just to have kind of something in my pocket where I could practice exam questions, take actual tests, but I could also just go through each individual section and kind of pound out, a series of questions on that one topic, especially the things where I didn't do super well on my practice exams. And then I'll also go back to this drone pilot ground school. That's that online course that costs $299. If you go to their website, if you go to their YouTube page, they've got a ton of free materials that I highly recommend that you take a look at, because the more things that you put in front of you, the more opportunities you have to really, really examine the questions that are going to end up on this exam. It's the only way that you're going to be successful is by studying, by preparing, and taking as many practice tests, looking at as many different practice questions as possible. Well, I really hope that this was helpful to you as you prepare to study for this exam. I know that it's something that helped me be successful. I know it's something that will help you be successful as well. But as you're going through it, if you still have other questions, please leave a comment below. I would be happy to help you in any way possible. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. That's just gonna help me continue to make these videos for you. And it's something that I just love to do. I love building this community. Thank you so much for watching, and happy filmmaking.